Days to weeks before a woman goes into labor, her body starts to release hormones called prostaglandins that actually work on the cervix and cause it to move forward in her pelvis, to actually soften in consistency and begin to thin out. And this has to happen in order for the cervix to start dilating once her brain releases a hormone called oxytocin that acts on the uterus and tells it to contract. Then, once the cervix has been prepped and primed by the prostaglandins, it's considered ripe, and the cervix will respond well to regular and intense contractions and may then begin to change, which is the true definition of labor. Many women say, I was in labor for 5 days because they were contracting for 5 days, when in reality, they were only in labor for hours leading up to the birth of the baby once their cervix started actually dilating from hour to hour. That's the true definition of labor. So you asked a really good question in relation to the whole process of labor and your baby's position in your pelvis. How does that affect things? You mentioned that you're 36 weeks along and your baby's head is low in your pelvis, and the doctor mentioned you might go quickly. And the reason why this helps is because if the baby's lower in the pelvis, the baby's head is applying more pressure on the cervix, which then helps the body to respond better. Your contractions are stronger and more frequent with that increased pressure once you start regularly contracting. However, there are many women who walk around for weeks with a baby that's low in their pelvis. On your first baby, actually, the baby can drop weeks before you deliver. But if you've already had a baby before, this could happen days or hours before you go into labor. So it's so hard to say when it's actually going to happen. And the baby's head position in your pelvis doesn't determine alone when you're going to go into labor how fast it will be. Here's the good news though. Because you're at least 36 weeks along, the doctor is not going to stop you if you go into labor, because studies and research has shown that babies born after 34 weeks have the same long-term effects as a full-term baby. So we definitely don't want to do anything to encourage delivery before a baby's full term. But if it does happen naturally, the baby should be okay long-term. Now, this doesn't mean that there won't be hurdles to overcome in the beginning, because when babies are premature, that means that their organs are premature. So that includes the lungs. They come out and might have breathing problems. That includes the liver, which might contribute to jaundice issues. And they also don't come out with a really strong reflex to suck. So this leads to eating problems, and they have issues gaining weight. So sometimes these babies who are born prematurely or before 37 weeks, and even sometimes between 37 and 38 weeks, will spend some time in the newborn ICU making sure that they're breathing and they're growing. So, when should you go to the hospital? That's a natural question. If you are having regular contractions that are about 4 to 5 minutes apart and increasing in intensity, then it's time to go. Also watch for any leaking of fluid, any vaginal bleeding, or decrease in your baby's movement. And if you notice these things, also go to the hospital, whether you're contracting or not. Speaking of your baby's movement, your baby should move at least 6 times an hour. If you notice that there's a change from that, lay down on one of your sides, because that's the best position for the baby and how they get the best blood flow, and count movements. And if it's ever less than 6 in an hour, it's always best to go get checked out. Best of luck with everything. And if you have any other questions for me in the future, feel free to ask them on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Intermountain Moms, and recommend us to your friends and family too.